This is The Bottom Line with Onimwa.
Thank you, Your Grace Andrew Nkea, for talking to The Bottom Line. You are the president of the Cameroon Episcopal Council and the Archbishop of Bamenda, and you are presently hosting the 49th session of the Episcopal Council in Cameroon. What is particular about this session this time around?
This session is very peculiar because we have been looking at some of the social and economic problems that are plaguing our country. We have also looked at the election year, which is next year, 2025, because we have to adequately participate in these elections. We have the preparatory phase, we have the monitoring phase, and we have the evaluation phase. So we have to start preparing now. And all those we are looking at, we have the various crises that are facing our country, the Northwest and the Southwest. We have also the Boko Haram in the far north and the refugee problems in the east. So these are some of the problems we are looking at. And then we are looking at the life of the church in general. How the church in Cameroon is faring and how the church in Cameroon is doing with regards to the works that we are doing.
There is already a media hype around the call by the Council for Cameroonians to massively register for the upcoming 2025 elections. Is this call part of your regalian duty, or this is just part of a special call that is being made by the church because of the special nature of the upcoming elections?
We said two things. The first thing we said was to massively register. And the second thing we said was calling the powers in place to ensure a free and transparent election. So people are focusing only on the first part and not focusing on the second part, and which is a distortion of our message. Our message is twofold. Ensure that people massively register and vote, and secondly, that the powers that be ensure a free and transparent election.
Yes, and when you talk about people to massively register, the opposition parties, they're calling for a revision of the electoral code, because this is something that is fundamental to bring about free and transparent elections that you are advocating for.
Calling the powers that be to ensure a free and fair elections is not independent of revision of the code. It's just that we cannot start going into all details in a short interview of 10 minutes.
We recently witnessed the elections that took place in the West African state of Senegal. Is that a message to the world at large, Africa in particular, or Cameroon specifically?
No, it's not just a message to Africa or to Cameroon. It's a message to the world. You are witness of the fact that the last American president refused to hand over to the new one. It's a big lesson for America. So it's not just to Cameroon or to Africa. It's a message to America, to the world, and to Cameroon. So it's a message for everybody. It's not just to some particular people.
And the church stands on same-sex marriage in recent times. Is it because there are some dissensions in the church, or you wanted to hammer this point because of what people were already saying about the Catholic Church?
You discover that this is a stand not only of the church in Cameroon, but of the church in Africa. And we greatly appreciate the fact that Cameroonians have applauded this message. And like St. Paul says to Timothy, preach the gospel, insist on it in season and out of season. So that's exactly what we are doing. We are insisting on the message in season and out of season.
And the use of the social media came under special scrutiny. Is it because of some deviant behaviors that you notice in this platform, or you just wanted to draw the attention of people using the social media?
No, we are noticing that people are using the social media to settle personal scores, to promote political ideologies, to fight political enemies, And these are the things we are trying to avoid. And it is important for us to insist that social media should be used for the good purpose, not to be used for calumny and for destruction of people's enemies.
Yes, and the social unrest in the two English-speaking regions, most of the plugs of this unrest is being drawn by people in the diaspora. How can we bring them on board to know that what they are doing is not good for their own people and that peace can actually be brought about without violence?
One of the things I must tell you is that our diaspora is as active as they are because they don't live in Cameroon. They are not adequately informed. They don't have first-hand experience. They have second-hand experience. They see pictures on social media. They see events that happen. When they kill people in Bamenda, I am the first to arrive the scene. When they burn people's houses, I am the first to arrive the scene. So I'm talking from what I know. No matter how close these people are to social media, they don't have first-hand experience. And this is why some of them can say the things that they say. And I have always said, I will not be discussing Anglophone problems with people who are not on the ground, because they don't know what they're talking about.
And what is the message you are telling them? I mean, how can they be brought on board for us to have this peace?
Yes, one of the things is that we have been talking about dialogue. We must be able to dialogue. They must be able to dialogue. And the first thing to dialogue is to create the atmosphere for dialogue. And creating that atmosphere for dialogue is to cease violence. If you think that you only get dialogue by destruction, this is very difficult.
And there is a semblance of peace in the two restive regions of the country. What is to be done to sustain this peace?
The first thing is to be pro-peace. People come out with these arguments, there can be no peace without justice. And I tell them that they are mistaken. America is one of the most unjust societies that I know. They are fighting for justice in parliament, both regional, state and federal. They are not butchering themselves. And we can always promote and fight for justice when we have created an atmosphere where people can see each other, look at each other in the eye and talk. It is not by killing that you can promote justice. So I keep going back to this point that where we are now, we should see how to go ahead. We should not look how to go behind. We should progress, not regress. This is a very strong appeal.
And in Bamenda recently, we have witnessed the decentralization of education in the Catholic Church. Small Mancon has got a secondary school, Big Mancon a secondary school, hospital, and even a guest house. And then there's also the St. Andrew Technical School. What motivated you to bring about this decentralization in the church and school, for example?
Yes, I think when I came to Bamenda, my first move was to sit down with the people and ask them what is it that they want for their diocese. And the people opened up to me and they told me what they want and which direction they want their diocese to go. And all of us sat down and we crafted a 5-year strategic plan. And that 5-year strategic plan was to run from 2020 to 2025. We are still in 2024, but I can tell you that 85 to 90% of that plan is achieved. And because the people crafted out those things, they are ready to put any amount of money at my disposal to realize those projects. And I think I greatly appreciate the Christians of Bamenda, and I will do anything it takes to promote what they want, because they are all on board and they are doing so very happily.
Yes, that's part of the decentralization that we were talking about. And in the case of the Northwest and the Southwest region, they were given a special status. Special status. What is special in this status? Because when we look at what is happening on the ground, we don't see what is special about what is to take place in the Northwest and Southwest regions.
If you listen to my speech at the opening of the conference this year, I insisted in that speech that we need to make decentralization a reality. The powers that be have to make decentralization a reality among the people. Give them powers. I give you a very small example. When I came to Bamenda, I gave the parishes 80% of their harvest for development. And if you go to every parish, they have a project going on. This is what I talk about decentralization. Everybody is trying to develop their own small corner, and that makes for integral development. Some people are building hospitals, some are building halls, some are building presbyteries, some are building their parishes, but everybody is doing something. Because I gave them back the harvest Thanksgiving money.
But here I'm talking about political special status.
This is exactly what I'm trying to say. That we have enough documents which show us what decentralization is supposed to be. But the implementation of these documents on the field is yet to reach a good level. And until this level, this decentralization becomes a reality, that power is given to the regions. If power is not given to the regions and money put at their disposal for auto-development, decentralization remains a word on the television.
Yes,
it has no effect on the life of the people.
The special status, some people take it as a blank check given to these regions. They can put any amount, can be 10 billion, can be 200 billion. No, it's a blank check.
I don't think you adequately understand special status. I was in the hall during the Grand National Dialogue, the major national dialogue, when this word special status came up. And when we went into the hall, many of us Anglophones thought that we're going to be arguing for a two-state federation. When we got into the hall, we discovered that we were mistaken. The Southwesterners, led by von Mukete, opted for a 10-state federation and refused that the Southwest cannot coexist with the Northwest. I was in the hall, I'm talking about what I know. Anybody can challenge me. It's because of this quarrel that broke out between the Southwest and the Northwest that somebody else came out with, give them special status. There is provision in the Constitution. This is how special status came about.
And with this special status, some realizations are being done. For example, there is the Northwest Development Authority that's in gestation. There is the dry port that's also in gestation in the Northwest. These are things that are not being given to them, but I mean, they actually took upon themselves to work on them, and they very soon will be realized. Don't you think that, I mean, the special status has?
This has nothing to do with special status. The special status that shows itself in the Constitution is that they have the regional assembly, and the Northwest and the Southwest has the House of Chiefs, which does not exist anywhere else in this country. We have the House of Chiefs, which was existing before independence and under the British Cameroons. It was existing. And this House of Chiefs is acting like an upper house of the regional House of Assembly. But what I'm talking about here with decentralization is to give to the regions the power to auto-develop, to develop themselves. What you are talking about, Southwest Development Authority, Northwest Development Authority, this is the initiative of the people. And the people can go ahead and auto-develop themselves if the resources are put at their disposal. So this is what I'm talking about. We cannot get contracts to develop roads in Boya Town signed in Yaoundé. That's unthinkable.
So it is possible that Boya, they can actually sign contracts in Boya.
Exactly, this is what we're talking about. These are the provisions of the decentralization and the special status. We should sign our own contracts to develop Boya and all the things that happen in Boya and the things that happen in Bamenda. Bamenda people can do this, but they need authorization and they need the funds put at their disposal.
And one of the problems to aggravate the situation in the Northwest region was the lack of infrastructure. But recently, we saw that the road between Bamenda and Babaju, right up to Bafusam, is in good shape. And now maybe we're waiting for the urban section of this road. How do you assess this development?
I must give credit where it is due. The roads are being well done, and they are very well built. And we see that the roads are soon going to reach Bamenda town. They have already passed Santa, and they are coming down towards Akum with the tarring. And it gives a lot of great joy to Bamenda people to see that they have not been forgotten. I used to take 3.5, 4 hours from Bamenda to Bafusam. Now I take 50 minutes. And this is what we're talking about, development. So we appreciate the road. We are hoping that in the next couple of weeks or months, the urban roads are going to begin. And this is going to bring a lot of satisfaction and great joy to the people of Bamenda and the Northwest region.
And your Lordship, from the depth of your heart, what can be done to sustain the peace that we are craving for in the Northwest and Southwest region? What do you see can be done to bring about sustainable peace in these two restive regions? I mean, this is a personal question. What do you think can be done?
The first thing that can be done is for the separatists to reorientate their ideas. If you look at some of the things that are happening among us now, the emphasis is more on money than on social justice. They are focusing on enriching individual pockets than on fighting for the good of the people. And that is why I can tell you that the people are rejecting them.
And the people have become targets too.
The people have become informants to government soldiers. And this is what I'm trying to say, that for us to have lasting peace, we should be able to look at the root causes of this problem. We should be able to discuss it as a family.
No taboo.
There's no taboo. There's no taboo. Discuss everything and see how we can move ahead, what we can give and take. This is what we can do so that we all agree that we need peace. If we are only talking in the air, I'm telling you that this will not lead us anywhere. Mind you, you are looking at the problems of the Northwest and Southwest regions. There are other problems brewing in other parts of Cameroon. And if these problems are not handled, they will give a new impetus to the problems of the Northwest and Southwest, which will be very difficult to handle. So that's why we are putting it in prayer and saying that the government and the other powers should be able to look at the problems of Cameroon globally. Don't say that because Yaoundé is breathing, Cameroon is living. It's not true. Because if Yaoundé stops breathing, the whole of Cameroon will go on fire. So we hope that these things we are saying will be able to help the people who can take decisions. Number one, to sit down on the table and dialogue. Number two, to be able to want the peace. Because it's not because you are talking about peace that you want it. We should be able to want peace in reality. And number three, we should be able to love our country. Our country has a lot of natural resources. Our country has a lot of good things, physical features that don't exist, human resources that don't exist anywhere else in Africa. Let us be able to love this country and see how to move it ahead. The human resource, the natural resources were given to this country by God, not by any individual. And therefore, the only way to handle it is to make sure that it reaches down to the common people. We are too rich to be living like a poor country.
Thank you for talking to Bottom Line.
You're welcome.
This is The Bottom Line with Onimwa.